Hi, welcome to the Whiskey Chicks podcast. My name is Amy.
And I'm Amy's sister, Suzie.
We are going to be talking to you about Whiskey Chicks. You may ask yourself, what in the world is a Whiskey Chick? Well, it's a term our Nana, our grandmother, used to describe anything and everything, like a doodad or a thingamajig.
For our purposes today, Amy and I have framed Whiskey Chicks as those random moments in life that accumulate over time that compel us to grow, learn, and evolve. Whether it's good, bad, ugly, funny, or sad, with each Whiskey Chick comes a lesson, an aha moment, a lotus blooming from the mud and muck, resulting in wisdom and healing.
Whiskey Chicks have brought us both to a place in our lives where we love ourselves and speak our truths. The last thing Nana said to me before she passed on was, "Be true to yourself, little A." That was the nickname she had for me. The angel spoke straight through her in that moment, and I knew I had quite a journey ahead of me. It was that Whiskey Chick, the last Whiskey Chick she delivered, that set me off on an incredible growth journey. She is the force behind this creative endeavor. We dedicate every Whiskey Chick to her. We're grateful you're here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Whiskey Chicks. I'm Suzie.
And I'm Amy.
And we're back again today to discuss some life skills that'll help you navigate through times of triumph and times of challenges. No, I'm just sounding corny. No, so today's topic is kind of funny and sort of came to Amy and I the other day when we were talking on the phone, as do a lot of our topics. And we were talking about an experience that Amy and I had together recently where we were talking about being served a piece of humble pie. And we've all heard that term before. And then I went on to say, well, are we getting served humble pie or are we going to get pour me pudding? And then that sent us into a tizzy because sometimes
First
creativity...
we had to laugh our asses off.
Yes, there was wheezing involved.
Because we're easily entertained, and that just cracked us up. So anyway.
And Amy was like, did that just come to you? And I'm like, of course it did. So anyway, we all kind of go through life when things happen to us. And again, Amy and I are going to say things over and over to you so that they stick in your brain and that things happen for you, not to you. But we are humans after all, and sometimes our minds can go down a path where we might get triggered to some traumas. But, you know, we give you these little skills to use, these little reminders to kind of put yourself in a mind space of something healthy, that you're not being punished or, you know, tortured by the universe. You're being taught valuable lessons that will help you. And
we're going to help you choose the correct dessert.
Yeah. You always want humble pie.
Don't choose the pour me pudding, even if it has tapioca in it.
No pour me pudding.
Don't choose the pour me pudding.
So let me just open by, let's talk about humble for a moment. So humble, right? A humble person is someone that is not proud and does not believe that they are better than other people. So there is humility involved in being humble. And I actually looked this up because I thought it was funny, because I thought humility, and then I thought like humiliation, because some people feel humiliated when they're getting served humble pie. This is really cool. The word humiliation, the root of it is Latin, and I almost said hummus, but it's Humus. I'm guessing that's humus. And it means earth or ground. I thought that was really interesting.
Huh.
Right?
Right.
Right.
Well, maybe it's saying, so, I mean, certainly if you get offered or served a piece of humble pie, the last thing you want to feel is humiliated. And, you know, so we can talk about, you know, switching that mindset, because it's more about stopping in your tracks and kind of identifying an opportunity to be accountable and learn a lesson. But to the humus, I guess the ideal thing to do would be to ground in that moment.
Yeah, don't
hence
fly
the
around the
earth.
room and you're in the bad place.
Right.
Get your humus on. I just want to call it hummus.
Not your hummus, your
I just want to
humus.
call it hummus.
There aren't
Because
garbanzo beans involved.
that's how I will remember it. But so anyway, humble pie is a figurative serving of humiliation in the form of a submission, apology, or retraction. That was the Webster's internet definition of humble pie. So I don't like the word humiliation though. Yeah, it was the internet dictionary. But I don't like the word humiliation. Even though I don't think humiliation has anything to do with the form of humility, that word, I don't think they're connected. I couldn't find that.
Like you said, people can feel humiliated, and if they go down that road, maybe that's what would make them choose the pour me pudding. But if you rise above the humiliation and take it more as, wow, yeah, I did that. It happened. I'm accountable. Own it. Be grateful and embrace the lesson. Right? So maybe if you go lower self, it's humiliation and you want the pour me pudding more than you want the humble pie.
I think we always, again, you always want the humble pie. But so humble pie is really about accountability. To put in terms I took notes on here, the willingness to accept responsibility for one's actions. Accountability is the idea that individuals must be responsible for their actions and they should be held accountable for the consequences of their choices. Accountability encourages people to be more careful, mindful, and thoughtful in their decision making. So I'm always someone that has reacted and not responded, like a snake strike, like without thinking, just saying stuff that I shouldn't, that I don't actually mean. It's not my higher self. It's like that reactive, like without taking a minute to breathe and think. And so I have often, I even have friends that are like, open mouth, insert foot. Like that's what they say to me, because sometimes I just have a tendency to just have stuff flat in my mouth that it's not me saying it. It's not my higher self saying it. So I've really tried to work on that over the last, several years. But it is, again, when you talk about, like we talked about before, in our domestication, it was in my previous wiring circuit board in my head, was that I immediately feel like I have to defend myself by, like, just saying something that I don't actually mean.
Triggers a lot of inner child stuff.
Totally. When your parents, when you're a kid and you've done something wrong and you're going to get punished for it once the parent finds out, it's sort of like you're already like getting ready to plead your case, right? So, because I can only speak for myself, but I used to lie all the time as a child. I would lie, lies, tell me sweet little lies.
I had a horrible habit of lying too, and I'm the oldest, so yeah.
Then I'll just blame you. I'm just kidding. Thanks for taking accountability. Just kidding.
Yeah, I set the example
with your humble pie. So humble pie, think of that as the high road of holding yourself accountable for things you might do or say to people that might affect them in a way that makes them not feel awesome or, attacked or hurt. Here we come back to the 4 agreements. If you're not being impeccable with your word, you will automatically default to standing in line for whatever you decide, humble pie or pour me pudding. Right?
Yep.
Speaking with integrity, getting back to that agreement there. So see how this is all relative. Like Amy and I are going to talk about stuff that's all relative somehow. It all like forms this matrix of stuff that you can pull from to when you're faced with situations in dealing with other people where, you can make some conscious decisions. And I'm telling you, like once you start doing that and taking that higher road, that humble road, I don't know about you, but I can say like I kind of love myself a little more for doing it. Like I'm like, yay me, pat on the back, proud of myself, you know?
Well, yeah, and every time you do it, you feel lighter. That's the only way I could think of to describe it. But there is, going back to kind of the four agreements, if you practice them on a regular basis and you practice accountability, you feel free. You feel lighter. There's nothing weighing on your conscience because you've taken ownership of whatever needed to happen. You had your humble pie, and I think it's important then to express gratitude for the lesson and not blame people, point fingers. If the situation, if it applies to the situation, just take ownership of your part, and you will feel lighter and freer for sure.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking, just sitting here listening to you, thinking, I at my job, I ask this loaded question all day long to people. How's it going today? Boy, oh boy, you just like opened a door, right? And sometimes I'm really surprised how many people just like take that as an opportunity to pull out their bowl of pour me pudding and tell me how terrible the world is. Or, like I work in a produce department, so like if we're out of basil or something, it's like, oh my god, now I can't make dinner and blah blah blah. Like I'm pretty sure there might be basil somewhere else on planet Earth other than where I work. But the point is that, just by asking, here I am, like, for most people, a complete stranger. I'm just like stocking apples or oranges, and someone's pushing a shopping cart around me, and I go, "Hey, how's it going?" I didn't have to do that, but I'm just like, "Hey, how's it going? What's up?" And some people just really, they just lay into me, and I let them. But I always try to say something positive back. It doesn't always go well. We're living in some tough times right now, but I really feel like we all have the opportunity with our own personal footprints to just really make a difference by just how we are actively in the world. You don't have to get sucked in to the bad things that happen, and get in that negative, state of mind. So on the pour me pudding side of this conversation, the pour me is about self-pity, feeling like the victim, constantly pointing blame. This is my favorite one. Constantly pointing the blame elsewhere. It's your fault. I didn't do it. Poor me. This happened to me. Or it's people that feel like the world have like treated them just unjustly and unfairly. And it doesn't matter what you believe in. I don't think there's any religion or spiritual thing in this world that can be believed in that would want you to suffer in your lifetime.
Yeah, true. I agree with that 100%.
So the rest is up to us and our perception. And so, again, so today I'll talk about what happened to me today. So I actually had applied for a promotion within my department. And in my heart, like, I knew I could do the job, but truthfully, like, I wasn't scared, but I was just sort of like a little bit unsure, that I would be the right person for it. But I took the chance. I put myself out there. I interviewed, I was myself and all that. And, it's the people around you that have to tell you that you didn't get it, that, they try to present it in a way where it's like, well, here was the good things that happened, but so the person that like told me that I didn't get the position is someone that I know personally. And she presented it in such a beautiful way that I was like, I feel good about all of this. I know you made the right decision. Like, that was my humble pie. That wasn't like, well, what do you mean I'm not good enough? Why didn't you choose me? I could have done that, but that doesn't serve me or the person delivering the news or the person that I'm going to be working side by side with. I remember I texted you, Amy, and I texted my best friend, and I said, it wasn't for my highest good. And then that's it. That is the end of it. Right? So I'm being protected. There comes the gratitude and the humility. I am humbled.
And let's just say that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with asking like in this particular case, for feedback as to why wasn't I chosen, just for my personal information, because if in the future I apply for this position again, you know, I want to situate myself so that I'm a better candidate, you know. So there's nothing wrong with asking why and asking for feedback. You know, there's a difference between, you know, going to that pour me pudding and then just kind of being empowering yourself to say, hey, you know, I really wanted this position. You know, can you share with me why I wasn't the best candidate? Because I just want to know for next time so that I can improve. And you know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with asking for feedback like that. So that's empowering.
These are your peers, right?
Yeah. You know, so but yeah, that's a great example, you know. And let's just talk about karma a little bit, because karma gets tied into humble pie as well, because assuming that humble pie, there's an inherent lesson when you're served a slice of humble pie, that could be tied to the karma that you came into this earth with, like on your astrological blueprint. I mean, we've all got karma that needs to be resolved. So every little lesson, little, big, however big the lesson, whenever it comes up, you have an opportunity to learn. And if it's an important one, then if you choose the pour me pudding, that that slice of humble pie is going to come back to haunt you. Because if it is a lesson that the universe wants you to learn while you're here on this earth as a part of your blueprint to resolve, it's going to keep coming up and keep coming up and keep coming up until you learn it. So that piece of humble pie for that particular lesson it's going to get moldy and stale. Do you want to eat it when it's rotten and stale, or do you want to eat it when it's fresh?
Fresh.
So it will keep, the universe will keep bringing the same lesson over and over again. And it'll keep coming back to bite you in the butt until you embrace it and learn it. And then the universe will go, yay, you know, we can tuck that one away. So I think it's important that we look out for these slices of humble pie, and rise to the occasion when it comes up. You know, be accountable. What's the lesson? Be grateful for the lesson. Express that gratitude, and the goodness out of that will come back to you tenfold. It's just like attracts like. You put humility and coming from an empowered place. You take your humble pie. Be grateful for it. It will come back to you tenfold. The universe will reward you for sure with more humble pie. No.
Yeah. I mean, I know we both have people in the world that we interact with that, you know, they'll be like, God, why does this crap keep happening to me? Blah, 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 you know, and the truth is, like, well, listen to yourself. And no one wants to hear that in the moment. They're like, shut up. But you know, I mean, have your moment of empathy and stuff. But you know, the truth is, like Amy said, I mean, whoever's cheering for you in the spirit world, whatever deity you believe in or what you go for, they're cheering you on. They're always cheering you on. They want you to succeed. So if you're feeling unsuccessful and everything that you feel you keep doing is unsuccessful, that's a sign you need to change something. And I promise you, once you start taking leaps of unconditional faith and trust, you know, here comes that, let's think about what we're not giving up. Let's think about what we're gaining, right? So, I mean, all you have to lose is, you know, negativity. And you know, like self-worth. I have always had self-worth issues. Like, I'm not good enough for anyone or anything. Up until not many years ago, I have always felt that way about myself. And again, that's coming from my domestication and how I was sort of like putting myself out into the world, when I'm surrounded by people that I know that are like, oh my gosh, you're so funny, you're so awesome, we love you, Suzie, that doesn't mean crap to you unless you believe it within yourself. It's just words.
Mm-hmm.
So once you start believing in the beautiful soul that you are, you won't even want to get the pour me pudding. But I'm telling you, it makes me just want to, like, encourage everybody, and maybe Amy will assign this as homework. The next time you're talking to someone and they're just you're like, pour me pudding. Humble pie. What do you want? How would you like this served? What do you want for dessert? Humble pie or pour me pudding? I mean, that's something I think that, again, is something you can say to people and hopefully get a humorous response from, because sometimes people just be talking to me, and I was like, tell me and I'll interrupt them and be like, tell me 3 things that you love about yourself. And I hear just crickets. I'm like, don't talk to me again until you have 3 things.
It's pour me pudding when everybody always does that little, like if you decide you want to play a violin for somebody, everybody does that. Like they do the little with the fingers, like play the tiny little violin, or they start doing
yeah.
So if you're playing a violin for someone, they are so asking for the pour me pudding. So how can you flip it around for them? Maybe help them out a little bit and just say, hey, how can you switch the situation so that you're offering them some humble pie instead?
Right. And here's another opportunity when you're interacting with someone and we're teetering on decision making for dessert here with the pour me pudding or the humble pie. And that is really an opportunity to act. Here's another thing I'm still working on, is being a better listener. I think it was you, Amy, that told me that I could walk into a room and take over the energy. I think you said that to me at some point.
I don't remember it.
Probably. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're listening to someone that's going on, and they're maybe telling you something horrible that's happening to them or whatever, I know that I'm in the frame of mind now that when I'm listening to them, like, okay, but here's what I hear you say. Like, this is what I hear and see in you saying. And there's always something good that you can pull out of it. Because, again, happens for you, not to you. So it's really just your mindset. So it's like, I feel like in several of the podcasts or episodes that we've talked about, the 4 agreements, this humble pie and pour me pudding and the happening for you. This is all putting a puzzle together as to how you can have a more healthy way of navigating your way through the world for your soul in this life for yourself. That's really what this all boils down to. It's your perception, right?
Yep.
Is it? I always get them confused. Perception is projection. Projection is perception. I don't know. It's sort of like,
I don't know.
It's sort of like if you're, viewing your life as you see it as like a movie. Like, how would you direct it? Like, how would you want to place the actors and have them? What's their script sound like to you and stuff like that? That you projecting that's your own little personal project, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Maybe that makes more sense to me than other people because I have a very strange mind. But anyway, like I said, Amy and I recently went through this humble pie experience, and I probably go through it more than I think I do, because sometimes I say stuff to people that I think is funny, and then someone was like, that was mean. And I was like, well, was it? Because I thought it was really funny. So I don't mean to, have someone at someone's expense. So I have to go back and be like, so, hey, here's my humble pie. Like, really didn't mean anything by that. It came from a good place, but, it was good for a laugh, right? But anyway, I know. But accountability in life is very important. It works together with your integrity, which is what you do when no one's looking. And so, I guess the point to this whole episode is when you do something or say something or someone does something or says something to you, you have a responsibility to yourself to go the humble pie route and activate all your agreements and not participate with the person that's trying to, maybe get to you. I'm not saying this very eloquently. I think you know what I'm trying to say.
It's about shifting the energy too and diffusing.
That's the other thing I meant to say. The shift happens.
The shift happens.
Holy shit.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. So, yeah, I mean, the moment you go the humble pie route, you're going to shift the energy. There's no other place for the other person that's participating. There's no other place for them to go. If they're spewing venom or whatever, they have nothing. They have to back down. They've got nothing to feed off of. So if you've got someone in your life that you may encounter situations like this with, try just taking that slice of humble pie and diffusing the situation and learn how impactful you can be in shifting the energy between yourself and the important relationships in your life.
It's very true. And I mean, not everybody is going to understand where you're coming from when you're trying to divvy out the I was going to say pumpkin pie. We're done with that season. The humble pie. But, so long as you, again, stick with your agreements and stand in your truth, I mean, that's really all you can do. And if someone decides that they no longer want to be a part of your life or interact with you or communicate with you, and you have, maybe tried to do that bit of reaching out with the piece of humble pie, and it's not met with, positive reception or response at all, you got to let it go. You can't let it eat at you, and you can't, you got to let it go.
And it's possible that person is just, they're not meant to be in your circle, part of your tribe, because it will become toxic at some point. So
it's very true. I mean, and sometimes, and here we can maybe take a tangent off the subject of the humble pie, pour me pudding, to say, when you're interacting with people, I know Amy and I could both agree, we have a lot of people in our lives that we call family that are not blood relatives, because to us, family is a feeling. It's not someone that you're necessarily blood related to. So, I've seen a lot of things recently on social media with like spiritual people talking about like, this is what it comes down to. If people are not for your highest good and they don't feed you humble pie or communicate with you or engage with you, even in times of maybe a little, uncomfortable conversation, because that, to me, that's a form of respect. I mean, if you have to be in a conversation with someone where maybe you've accidentally done something and you've held yourself accountable, them being like, hey, why'd you do that? Like, explain, tell me, where were you coming from? Like, why did that happen? I really respect people and love people that do that kind of call you out on your crap, and, but, just because people are your blood family doesn't mean you have an obligation to keep them close to you. You can still love them, no matter what. That's unconditional love, right? No matter what. You love them no matter what. But sometimes they kind of weave in and out of your life, because the truth is they were here for a lesson, a karmic lesson, but they're not for your highest good. And you just kind of let that go. Again, if you've tried to say and communicate and get nothing back, then, that silence is pretty loud. And, yeah, doesn't mean you don't love the person or care.
And the same goes to if you've been attempting to serve someone some humble pie in order to help them change their views, gain an understanding, evolve, but they won't take the slice. They keep going the pour me pudding route. Then at some point you need to know when to stop trying to serve up that pie and just kind of release it, because that's not good for you either. You can't always lead a horse to water, so it's, you have to know when for yourself too, if you've got someone that you can see it so clearly for yourself, what needs to be learned or shifted or whatever, but that other person's just not responding, then you have to know when to cut yourself off too. Like Suzie said, it doesn't mean you don't care, you don't love. You just have to put your own energy first. It's so important. So
you have to remember to not lose the infinite love you have for yourself and or your self-worth, because
right.
it's not about you, so anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting a little deep here.
I know.
It's
getting a little somber.
We're getting deep. I know. Let's
assign the homework.
Yeah, before we dig a hole any deeper. I don't know. I don't know. Truthfully, the last few days, I've been feeling not somber, but I feel like I've been having like a physical, like spiritual reaction to some things going on around me, and it's just made me kind of, I'm still me, but a little more, I don't know, reflective, thoughtful.
Well, it's that
and
time
it's the
of
end of the
year
year.
too.
Yeah. Didn't we just have a full moon? A Cancer full moon?
Last night was 100% full in Cancer, which makes us all kind of, reflective and watery and, just emotional. But we're also at that time of year where it's like Christmas is done. We're waiting for 2024 to happen, and the days in between just kind of all mushed together. I think people feel at their laziest at this time because we're coming down off of Christmas. We're waiting on the new year. I think there's more sitting around in sweats and doing nothing and just kind of reflecting on life. And we just had the winter solstice, the last full moon of the year. And I think this is just a really strange time for people every year. Mercury is still retrograde.
Yeah.
That it won't start
like whammies.
Yeah, it won't start forward motion until the 1st. So if you're feeling the need, humble pie, pour me pudding aside, if you're feeling the need to just be a sloth, you're right on track.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to just, allow yourself to just be a blob for the next few days and feel what you need to feel, reflect on what you need to reflect on, so if you feel melancholy, and I mean, you're right on target. It's just the climate right now. So
totally.
Yeah.
Well, so what are you going to get for homework?
Well, I think it's just simple. I mean, think about the analogy of humble pie versus pour me pudding, and just next time.
I like how you say that so seriously, like it's been in existence for ages. Like, yeah, it's funny.
I know it's the teacher in me, but anyway, it just keep it in the back of your mind. Keep it in your arsenal. And the next time something comes up, whether it's you personally being served a slice of humble pie, or you feel the need to serve someone in your circle a slice of humble pie, just keep this in mind. And if it's for you, especially if you're getting the slice of humble pie, just remember that this is a lesson in gratitude and accountability. And so step up and don't go down the pour me pudding route where you've got a symphony of violins playing for you. Anyway, that's just it. Just be mindful. Think about it next time it comes up. Or maybe you have something like that going on in your life right now. You never know. I mean, we're coming off the holidays, which tends to be a pretty emotional time for families anyway. Sitting around the table, you see people, it's just emotions run high this time of year. So maybe you've got a situation that has come up over the holidays that you resonate with this whole metaphor, if you will. So
Totally.
Anyway, that's the homework.
I love it. All right. Well, on that note, I know we are kind of like, wow, today. It's pretty funny. Whew. It's all good. Netflix and chill. Here we go. Anyway, we want to thank you for joining us. We're so grateful to have you along for this ride with us as we live our Dharma. And we just, really hope you eat the humble pie going into the new year and beyond. Anyway, that's it for Whiskey Chicks this time, because we know what old Nana would say.
Be true to yourself.